like to call the Olivet City Council meeting to order. It is January 10th, 2023 at 7:03 p.m. We are in the City Council chamber, and we'd like to welcome you all to the City Council meeting tonight. First item, please, roll call, actually. First item.
Hold on, please, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yep.
God bless you. Thank you much.
All right. Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Waldman,
Here.
Councilmember Knox,
Here.
Chairman Pro Tem Carl.
Here. The mayor is absent with excuse.
Next item is
Next item. Yeah.
communications. Chairman, we have no written communications. However, we do have a new police officer, Drew Potts, to be sworn in.
Okay. We have a new officer tonight, Drew Potts. Drew was born in St. Louis, lived in Florissant his entire life. He has two siblings, an older brother named Daniel and a younger sister named Allison. His parents are William and Stacy. Drew attended Hazelwood High School and graduated in 2013. He went to college at UMSL, and while in college attended Army ROTC. He graduated college in 2017 and commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army as military police. In 2020, Drew attended St. Louis Metropolitan Police Academy and began to work with SLMPD. Okay, I'm sorry, for the St. Louis Police Department. Okay. Drew and his wife, Majesta, that's right, Majesta, got married on December 3rd, 2022. Wow. And they currently have 4 dogs. Well, you'll fit in here because we have a dog-loving police department. All right. Would you like to step up and be sworn in? Let's try to do this as a combo here. And if you'd like to raise your right hand. I, Andrew Potts, do solemnly swear.
I, Andrew Potts, do solemnly swear
That I possess all the qualifications
possess all the qualifications
to serve as a police officer for the city of Olivet, St. Louis County, Missouri.
to serve as a police officer for Olivet, St. Louis County, Missouri.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Missouri
I will support the Constitution of the United States and state of Missouri
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Olivet.
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Olivet.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of this office
Faithfully discharge the duties of this office
by abiding by the law enforcement code of ethics.
by abiding by the law enforcement code of ethics.
I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith,
I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith.
and I accept it as a public trust to be held and honored.
Sorry.
That's right. I accept it as a public trust to be held and honored.
I accept it as a public trust to be held and honored.
That's it. Thank you. Congratulations. Like pictures, so everybody come up, get pictures. Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
What district were you in? That's not in the metro. Okay. I'm a badge of honor. Any badge you want?
Okay, so we can proceed to the next item.
Next item is city manager's report. Yes. Right. It's the first regular meeting of the month, and at that time, this is the time when I normally review progress on our parks and the community center. The parks dashboard is, you'll notice, has fewer things because they're winding down. They're mainly at this point doing punch list items and finishing up some of the splash pad items as well. They're waiting on those, on the cages for the splash pads that you folks approved at the last meeting, to cover the pipes, et cetera, that operate the splash pads. I don't think we have a date of when those will be coming in yet. I believe when they were ordered, it was a 6 to 8 week period. Other than that, they're really kind of just, as I said, doing a lot of punch list items. And you'll note on the contingency and allowance, it says an anticipated change of that 30,000. That's actually represents what has already been approved. It just hasn't been moved from a anticipated charge to a charge because the items hasn't been paid for yet. Other than that, the project is really nearing completion. One of the things that you should to note is that even when the work is done, we won't be able to test the splash pads until the spring. And with that, we won't be closing out the contract until after those splash pads have actually been tested. So we will be retaining or holding on to some of the retainage and until that has been confirmed and in working order. So I don't really have any other additional pictures from the parks to show you. I'm going to go right into the community center in Warson Park. Again, they continue to work on the maintenance building, the construction of the new community center, and the construction of the GRG Centennial Greenway within Warson Park. You'll see they're really nearing completion of the roof installation at the new community center. I believe as of this morning, they really only had the indoor playground roofing to do. So these reports are always maybe a couple of weeks behind. So we're going to be moving into more of the internal work. I believe they're hoping to start installation of windows this week. Windows have been delivered, so they're going to be working on that. And again, the goal is to get the building buttoned up so that they can get heat in there and start doing all the work that needs to be done on the inside. The maintenance building, we actually do have we're close to having a temporary occupancy on that. Some of the outside work won't be complete until the spring because there's some asphalt work that needs to be done, some sealants that need to be put in that won't be happening during well, during the colder weather, with the exception of today, would have been fine. But we don't anticipate that work happening until the spring. We do expect that we'll be moving, starting to move items in at the end of this week or the beginning of next week, even though we'll just still be doing on a temporary occupancy. There is still a question on the fire suppression system in that building with regard to the alarm system, and we'll be working on that. Let's see what else we have here. The GRG trail is about 70% poured. And I'm not sure if they're going to get that done before the spring or not. If, it's going to be weather dependent. You continue to have days like that, you might be able to get that poured. You get some of that colder weather sets in and stays. That'll be a little bit more difficult to get that done. We have a number of RFIs, which are again, just essentially questions that they produce and that are being worked on by KAI and Navigate. We have a few outstanding possible change orders, as you'll see in the list. Some of those are, we're kind of still working through questions on those. None of these here present a significant cost. The water line from Worcester to the GRG node, that is a project that a decision was made just today at our meeting to remove that water line. That was a water line that was solely serving a drinking fountain at along the GRG trail. The issue, the initial plan was that we would be taking, linking from the water supply that what had been the old park house and getting it to the drinking fountain. However, once they dug up that area, they realized, and were concerned about this, that supply line was no good anymore. And so we were going to need to run a full line from Morrison Road, about 500 feet up to that drinking fountain. Again, that was something we would have been able to do. The issue then that Missouri American brought out was a concern of a single use, not often used water supply, having water in it, unless you have a process by which you're going to regularly flush that water line. They didn't recommend we do that. At this point, we're removing it from this project, and Bruce McGregor, the Public Works Director, and I are going to talk about looking at doing that as on a project that the city might do on its own. One of the future uses of that line was if and when we do a community garden at the old park house. And at that point in time, I think we'll review the possibility of that line and maybe looking at different connections. So that possible change order is actually off the table as of today. The Wright continues to meet the MBE and WBE goals that have been set. The indoor play area is always going to be kind of the last last phase of work. And so even as we kind of continue to move forward, so it's going to be the last to get, it was the last to get framed. It's going to be the last to get the roofing. It's going to be the last to get the windows. That's just because that's how they're phasing the construction. And so it'll also be one of the last to get the finishes, which will be the indoor playground equipment. We anticipate that happening in the next few months. Other than that, it continues, as I informed the council in an email. We do have a new architect, our lead architect from KAI, seems to be working out fine.
I don't recall receiving that communications. Could you send it again, please?
Mhm. We have some photos of the work happening here. This is the indoor playground area. You can kind of see the outside from different angles. I think it is going to have kind of a nice look about it. The white on the top, that's kind of part of the roofing. It won't actually have those on top. And then you can see the inside of that playground area. This is a view southeast side of the building, so you can kind of, you see the gym, you'll see the section kind of on the right is the multi-purpose rooms, and then the doors into the kitchen, into the storage area. And then you can see kind of all the steel framing in for the kitchen on the right. Hmm? Hmm?
This is just for my understanding. At the bottom, it says current WBE participation 70%. Are we exceeding or are we beneath it, or how? are
The
we
goal is, the goal is 12.5, and where we currently are with the contract. So this is tied to the bills that get paid.
doing?
And so where we currently are with the paying of bills is at the 12.81. So we're slightly exceeding, kind of right on.
Great, because I was asked about, it. I just want to make
Yep.
sure I'm
Mhm.
giving the right information.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, and so kind of moving on is I wanted to kind of give a brief overview. We have a couple of marijuana related items on the agenda tonight. And I thought it gets a little bit, a lot of balls in the air on this topic. So I thought it might be helpful just to let folks know kind of how we're approaching this. And again, what I'm talking about is Constitutional Amendment 3, recreational marijuana. And the city's going to be amending 3 areas of the municipal code. Article 3, Chapter 220 pertains to the smoking in public. You're going to have a first reading on that tonight, and a possible second reading on January 24th. Again, that addresses just the smoking in public. Article 11, Chapter 215 pertains to possession, sale, distribution, and cultivation of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. These are amendments to the current code as they relate to law enforcement. Okay, so currently on the books, you would have the sale or the distribution or the possession would be a fine, or would be, would be currently against current code. That needs to be changed, obviously, because Amendment 3 changes the amount, changes whether someone can possess. It changes the amount a person can hold without it being distributing, and changes the how much the fact that people can cultivate. And so we are prepared for a first reading at your next meeting in January on the 24th, with an anticipated second reading on February 14th. We then, the third area is a revamp of Chapter 450, which is regulating marijuana facilities. This pertains to the incorporation of the changes resulting from the passage of the state constitutional amendment. This language is going to the Planning and Community Design Commission on January 19th. Following, I don't know, the Planning Commission at that night could recommend that it goes to the council for approval. They could talk about it for 1 or 2 meetings. We don't really know. It's up to the discretion of the Planning Commission. But when that recommendation from the Planning Commission is made, the bill will come before the council for a first, second reading and a public hearing. Then the additional actions that are happening, again, this is happening tonight, is the sales tax and ballot measure. And this is regarding the imposing a 3% sales tax on adult use marijuana. And I want to be kind of articulate this again when we get to the item, but adult use marijuana is recreational marijuana. the constitutional amendment only allows for sales tax to be imposed on the recreational sales. And if approved, if approved tonight, the question then goes before the voters in April, which would require a simple majority vote for it to pass. And I point that out only because it's kind of a funny use. They talk about adult use marijuana, and I'm not sure why they didn't just talk about it under the sales tax. I'm not sure why they just didn't talk about recreational use, and why they decided to use another phrase. But that is it. And so that's kind of the next so it's going to be kind of, I anticipate, I'm hoping end of February, perhaps, we'll be done with all the revamps and we'll be in line with the Constitution. One note, the Planning Commission, Richard Brophy has resigned from the Planning Commission. His work schedule made it difficult for him to always be in attendance. So we will be seeking a resident to fill that vacancy. We will be advertising. Kiana will be pushing it out in our social media and on the webpage. As the council is aware, the Planning Commission has some requirements with regard to what professions are need to be sitting on that commission. Richard Brophy served as in the role of his profession of an attorney, and so we are looking for someone who would be an attorney, and we'll be looking for that when we post for the vacancy. Calendar. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, offices are closed. That's January 16th. The council has a work session January 17th. Park and Recreation Commission regular meeting is the 18th. Planning and Community Design Commission is January 19th. Economic Development Commission is the 23rd. City Council regular meeting, your next regular meeting is the 24th. And our next coffee with the mayor is February 8th. And with that, happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
Are there any questions for the city manager? I see none. Next item, please.
Next item is city council reports.
Start with Councilperson Waldman.
Mr. Pro Tem. Very last meeting that I attended with regard to Planning and Community Design Commission was on December 13th. Mr. Trejo typically puts out a summary to everybody. No, hold on, folks. I apologize, I grabbed the wrong agenda. So I don't have that report for Planning and Community Design Commission. But I am a member of the Municipal League Executive Board. And I want to bring just to your attention something that has been brought to the league's attention. And eventually to the city managers' meetings because they report to city managers. So we are very blessed in our city that we have a use tax already. And we are very blessed that we have a municipal league that really overlooks things that are important for municipalities. And an example right now, there's two ordinances, one in 2021 that was calling for providing an election for the purpose of submitting to the qualified voters of St. Louis County a local use tax for out-of-state purchases. This is as a result of Wayfair finally passing in our state. In 2021, they had language that clearly identified how the taxes would be distributed. Very large paragraph. But on the current one, that language is omitted. And that's where the municipal league comes in and is important. They noted that, they noticed that, and there's been communications back to Ms. Ritter Days with regards to that concern. So I just want to kind of point out why it's important. We are together in municipalities. We are working together. We are thinking together. And as a result, I'm going to remind everybody that in February, our meeting, not the executive board meeting, will be in Frontenac, at Frontenac City Hall. There will be a presentation with regards to that current law enforcement team that has been working and figuring out what we're going to do. My words, universally, it's similar when it comes to the victimization and crimes that we're seeing lately within our municipalities. So please, if you can, be in attendance. If I said February, I apologize for that January meeting. We are hosting the February Municipal League meeting. And just wanted to kind of share that and remind everyone of that and encourage you to please be at the February meeting. Thank you. That's all, Chairman Pro Tem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll get that to you.
Councilperson Clark,
I have nothing to report at this time.
Councilperson Ron.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, and I have nothing to report. So next item, please.
Next item is the monthly financial report.
Good evening, Pro Tem and council members. We have as we get caught up because of our shorter months of meetings, we have our July through November report in front of us. And it shows us that our revenue is below our expectations by about 110,000. And then our expenditures are below expectations by a pretty large amount at $623,000. So that comes to a net variance of 513,000. We're beginning to see what we'll see now, I guess, from here on through some of the effects of the delay that we've experienced of the opening of the community center toward since we last visited this budget back in May. So we'll kind of be able to follow those things through, but that variance there in the expenditures will begin to grow. And it'll be in a positive fashion. The expenditures, when you open any kind of operation, they predate a lot of the revenues, and so that's what we're going to see. Is we had anticipated kind of hiring up some staff, getting training started, and then we would open, and then the revenue would start to come in after that. In any case, we'll see this in our reports, and it will continue to create variances that are a little strange. Our audited figures are now in our reports. We're looking at this revenue, the reserve policy analysis, and you can see audited figures well within compliance there for our 1 year as we look at that. On the individual kind of revenue categories, our sales taxes, they're right on budget are right at expectations on some higher budgets this year once again. Property taxes a little behind for November where we thought. That's a lot of this plays into how effectively or how timely the county can process payments. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything one way or the other on those, but it appears our budgets are in good shape. We're going to pay attention to our protested payments just like usual, and we'll be able to get a report on those as the county kind of finally gets their head above water on processing payments. Utility taxes slow and remain under expectations. No news, new news there in through November. Personnel costs. If we look down the line items for what's causing that large variance in our expenditures, you'd see personnel costs, and you'd see it in our police department, somewhat in our fire department, and then now you're going to see it in the recreation department, and that's where we'll monitor that for the growing part. If we go down to the chart there for the sales taxes, we had kind of peeked ahead last month and saw we had a bad November, and it was on a decline there since September. Got our lowest November. Now look what we have here in December. We have our best December. Preliminary reports here we're getting for January look like it's going to be a very good January too. Now what you see there in January, we don't get a whole lot of stratification between any certain year. That it stays pretty steady. So we expect it to hold out up there toward the top end, which are some of our better months. So nothing to report there other than time can tell us a lot more than 1 month, and that's what we've always kind of said. to the volatility and the timing of what happens between the state, the county, and even the sales tax remitters themselves. So that's all I have for our monthly report. Again, from here on, in December, we're gonna see a pension payment. We're gonna see some more collections. We're gonna see some collections on our NIDS. From there, only thing I would say now that as I talk a little more, in our non-general fund. So we keep going down here, a couple more, Barb, if you could. So right here, this is our capital improvement fund with that yellow. The sales tax is there, and this follows through in all of our other kind of special revenue funds are the sales taxes are doing well, and they're doing above where we expected. And that's good news for all those other kind of revenue sources that live outside of that general fund that we talk a lot about. So that's all I have there. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Mann? Being no questions, thank you,
Good.
Mr. Mann.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is hearing from citizens.
All right, do we have anyone that would like to speak? Going twice? Okay, next item, please. I'm
Next.
sorry, was there anyone online? I didn't think.
No,
Okay.
Okay, next
please.
item
Yeah.
is bill number 2990, an ordinance imposing a sales tax at a rate of 3% on all tangible personal property retail sales of adult use marijuana sold within the city of Olivet, Missouri, pursuant to Article 14, Section 2.65 of the Missouri Constitution, subject to the approval by the voters of the city at the general municipal election to be held on April 4th, 2023, designating the form of ballot and directing the city clerk to provide notice of said election.
Okay.
short title. And this is the sales tax that I spoke about during the report. It's a rate of, you're setting it, you would be setting it at a rate of 3% on adult use or recreational marijuana sold within the city of Olivet. This would not take effect until after the voters approve it or not on April 4th. We are asking the council tonight to hold a first and second reading and then to take action. The reason for this is that January 24th is the last day to submit ballot questions. So by doing a first and second reading, we will make that deadline. Otherwise, the council meeting is on the 24th at 7 p.m. and the ballot questions have to be in by 5.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Mhm.
I motion to set aside our regular rules and read Bill 2990 for a second time.
Is there a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any, we are going to take, since we're setting aside our ordinary rules, we take public comment on the fact that we're doing that, and this has not been available for 2 meetings. So we take public comment at this time because we are setting aside our regular rules. Is there any public comment at this time on our action here? Seeing none? Okay. Then we should proceed to the vote, please.
Okay. Councilmember Clark. Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes,
Chairman Pro Tem.
Yes. Okay, could you read the bill
Motion
for a
passed.
second time?
Okay, bill number 2990, an ordinance imposing a sales tax at a rate of 3% on all tangible personal property retail sales of adult use marijuana sold within the city of Olivet, Missouri, pursuant to Article 14, Section 2.65 of the Missouri Constitution, subject to the approval by the voters of the city at the general municipal election to be held on April 4th, 2023, designating the form of ballot and directing the city clerk to provide notice of said election.
Okay. do we have-
Chairman Pro Tem,
Yes.
I motion to approve Bill 2990, an ordinance imposing a sales tax at the rate of 3% on all tangible personal property retail sales of adult use marijuana sold within the city of Olivet, Missouri, pursuant to Article 14, Section 2.6 in parentheses 5 of the Missouri Constitution, subject to the approval by the voters of the city at the general municipal election to be held on April 4th, 2023, designating the form of ballot and directing the city clerk to provide notice of said election.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
There is just one thing I failed to say. This is going to be known as Prop M. That was not my decision. That was, it was a recommendation by the municipal league that we all
Yeah.
use the same prop, and I'm not sure how they got the M.
All right, let's vote.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes,
Chairman Carl.
Yes.
Motion passed by the action of the Olivet City Council. Bill number 2990 becomes ordinance number 2761.
Next item, please.
Next item is bill number 2991, an ordinance amending Article 3 of Chapter 220 of the Olivet City Code pertaining to smoking in public area places. First reading.
I'm going to tee this up and I'll
Okay.
hand any other questions that you might have to the city attorney, Mr. Martin. Basically, the city has had a smoking in public places article as a nuisance. What we've done is incorporated marijuana into this as part of the smoking. It had been just really restricted to tobacco. And we, as the council is aware, we talked about this at a work session to try to get some ideas from the council of how you'd like to move forward with this. And I think what we've done is try to take the suggestions that the council had and incorporate these into a measure. And again, also trying to be using common sense as well. The same way we use common sense with the smoking of tobacco, in that, if someone's walking down, if someone's smoking a cigarette and they're walking by, is that a nuisance? Because again, it's a nuisance ordinance. Now, if someone's standing there, then that might be becoming a nuisance. Or if there's an established place for someone to stand, then that might be a nuisance. And so again, I think what we're trying to do is make sure that we're using common sense on this. So with that, Paul, I don't know if there's anything you want to add or if you just want to answer any questions.
What we've already discussed, the germane section E of 220.210. The first paragraph includes the prohibitions of smoking. Number one, in any public place. Number two, in any place in which smoking is otherwise prohibited by the section under the existing no public smoking ordinance. And number three, on any private property within 15 feet of any place prohibited by clause 1 of the paragraph. We've talked about that. It's an extension from, obviously it creates a buffer zone of sorts, and it might be subject to constitutional challenge, but I think there's a legitimate argument to be made, and I'm comfortable with including that. And after discussing it at the last session, I believe that was the council's intent. The second paragraph in this section provides new language that was discussed in concept. Smoking of marijuana or the suspected smoking of marijuana shall not by itself serve as the basis to detain, search, or arrest a perpetrator or suspect in a manner or for a length of time more than may be necessary to issue an ordinance violation citation as contemplated by section 220.250.e. The concern was that the ordinance could be used to harass young people, individuals, minorities, and we wanted to do what we could to discourage that. That, of course, all comes down to the individual officers, and we have a lot of confidence in ours, but it serves as a guardrail to help inform that conduct, that enforcement conduct. And in the next paragraph, section 220.250 enforcement and penalty, there is an exception to the general penalty of section 100.180, which can be applied for smoking other things. But due to the constitutional amendment, the penalty to be applied for smoking marijuana is a fine of not to exceed $100. And that is the sum and substance of the ordinance. I'm happy to address any questions.
Are there any questions?
Well, thanks, Paul, for that summary. I just want to make sure I understand correctly because I was just a little confused on that exception. The exception really deals with the fine that we have in our system for a cigarette or a cigar or a pipe smoking violation, not a marijuana violation, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
General penalty can be higher than $100.
I think this addresses my concerns very
Yeah.
well. It does.
Good.
I'm satisfied with it.
No questions. All right. This is first reading, so that's it. We'll just move on to the second item. Next item.
Next item is Bill number 2992, an ordinance amending section 400.220 permitted uses being part of Article 4 SR Single Family Residential District of Chapter 400 zoning regulation of Title 4 land use of the Olivet Municipal Code to reduce the lot width noted under section 400.220 A.3A, first reading.
Good evening, Chairman Pro Tem and members of the City Council. My name is Carlos Trejo. I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development for the City of Olivet. And tonight before you under Bill 2992 is a request, of course, for the first reading to amend our SR Single Family Residential District found in our zoning regulations to reduce the lot width for existing legal lots of record from their current 50-foot to 40-foot. And still require that these lots maintain an area of 5,000 square feet. What this amendment would do would permit 7 additional lots based on the analysis conducted by staff and there to have the opportunity to do some reconstruction or new construction on their properties. What this ordinance would not do is create any additional new lots within the SR district. All new lots would be subject to compliance with 15,000 square feet or through the variation process. Still need to maintain a width of 60 feet and a minimum lot size of, I believe, 5,000 square feet. I will present a presentation at the next council meeting. We have scheduled for a public hearing. Be glad to answer any preliminary questions at this time.
Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Chairman.
Trejo. Just next item, please.
Next item is Bill number 2993, an ordinance repealing section 240.070 of chapter 240 of the municipal code and enacting a new section relating to hourly rental rates for the community center and enacting a new section 240.072 establishing community center membership fees. First reading.
Beverly, I believe, is here, but I'll just start it out so that we can keep moving forward. The rental fees and the membership recommendations, I believe, have all been to the council before. I know the room rentals and the damage deposits were before the council. You made it, it went from the Parks Commission to the council. You made a couple of changes, recommendations for damage deposits. Went back to the Parks Commission, and now it's back for you for final approval on that. With regard to membership fees, again, I think this is something that's been talked about. The Park and Recreation Commission spent a lot of time looking at other similar entities, facilities, and kind of have come back with the fees that are before you today. One of the things that is important is that that we're currently working on. The other set of fees are program fees, which are for those individual programs, some of which may be incorporated into your membership fees, others of which are will be standalone. And Beverly, if you're here, if you want to kind of come on up, that's fine. I was just kind of getting it moving.
So sorry, we went so rapidly through the earlier items. So Beverly Tucker Knight, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this first reading of the fees for the facility rentals and the membership fees for the new Five Oaks on Morrison Community Center.
Okay. I also see that the chairman of the Parks Commission is here, Jim Person. If you would like to come up and make any comments too about this or the work that you've done.
Right. And I will remind you, this is the first reading and we intend to do a presentation with the second reading. Yes.
Yeah.
if you have any
I guess the one thing that I would say is that council came back with concerns about the deposits and certain other fees. And we had a subgroup that worked on those, took very seriously what the council was concerns were, and we have created the differential deposit structure. And so we really appreciate what the council has done and try to work together with on that.
All right, thank you. Jim?
To clarify, the differential pricing for the deposits came from the Parks and Recreation Commission following the first review of the city council. You had your work session to look at the fees.
Okay, thank you. It is a first reading, so if there are no current questions, I will go to the next item. You have a question?
Veneer, could you just please clarify for me? It's a clarification question. If I am an annual pass owner, do I have daily fees?
You do not.
Okay,
The daily fees are for people that are non-members.
okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chairperson not, or I try not to say chief.
okay.
Councilperson not.
Beverly, I have a question, and I've looked at some of the different municipalities that have community centers, and some of them have rates, monthly rates, besides an annual rate. And was that considered?
A monthly rate, sometimes when they're charged, they charge a higher monthly rate because it costs more to process the fees rather than annually. That is something that we could do. We could offer that because we can do monthly billing. We set it up as an automatic payment. Someone would have to provide a debit card or a credit card in order for us to do that. Our system would handle that. And I'm not sure if that's something that has to be codified in the ordinance. I believe that could be a policy, but I defer to the city manager and the finance director about how, when we go to implement these fees, if that's an option for us.
Yes, well, I know there's a lot of residents that leave town for 4 months, 5 months,
Mhm.
in the winter and in the summer.
Mhm.
I think that the annual fees are very fair for our residents and for our non-residents
Mhm.
also. So I commend you on what you've done. I just was wondering if we could
Yes,
at least look at that.
so it could be a hiatus, like you put it on like a vacation hold if you're going to
Right.
be away.
And if it's too cumbersome,
Mhm.
then that I'm fine with these other rates.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I will confer with the city manager and the finance director about the implementation, if that needs to be part of the ordinance, or if we can just do that operationally.
Thank you.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Do you have any plans to do something for families, like a family rate?
We absolutely have a family rate. It's included on here. It's called household.
Okay,
And then there's a household definition, which is 2 adults and 3 children under 3 dependents under the age of 21. So we wanted to be very careful with how we worded that. And then if someone has another dependent in addition to the three, they can pay an additional $25 to add more dependents on there. And then we also have a household for people that are 65 plus. And again, that's two people remaining in that reside in the same household.
Okay.
The working group and the commission worked very carefully with that language to make sure it was as inclusive as possible.
Can I just follow up? Is it 65 and plus or 60 and plus?
It's 60, I apologize.
Oh,
It's 60.
That's okay. Okay, thank you.
Any more? Okay, move on to the next
Great.
item.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, the next item is authorization to apply for MoDOT cost share and congestion mitigation and air quality improvement, CMAQ, funding in conjunction with two intersection improvements at Olive Boulevard, North Price, and Dealman Industrial.
I guess this is Mr. McGregor.
I'm gonna start it and Bruce is we're gonna tag team a little bit, so he'll come up. Just to remind council and the folks watching, we started out looking at this as North Price, Olive Boulevard. And when we talk about that intersection, we're talking about the north leg of Price Road. So Olive Boulevard north, not the Olive and Price South. We've also, we're looking at a separate project of Dealman Industrial and Olive Boulevard. Both of these are roads that are used by the hundreds of people who work, thousands of people who work in that industrial park up there. And to ease kind of the congestion around there. Both of the intersections lack a single right, a right lane, a dedicated right lane, right turn lane. The Olive and North Price intersection has always been very odd, has a lot of history behind it. The fact that we have an extra light at the intersection is always a little bit confusing. And so when we first looked at this, we were first looking at a CMAQ grant and talking with MoDOT, and they realized that we were going to have a little bit more trouble just doing the North Price and Olive and making that work for the air quality grant. We then continued conversations with our regional engineer at MoDOT and talked about the fact that, well, what about if we would use a MoDOT cost share? And a MoDOT cost share grant is a grant that if there's an intersection that MoDOT has a portion of, so again, Olive Boulevard is MoDOT's, their right of way goes up onto North Price. And so they have an interest in that. And so the reason they call it a cost share is that we're doing the project together. A cost share project can be up to 50% of the cost.
Who gets the 50, up to the 50? Is that?
Up to 50, they will share, MoDOT will share up to 50% of the
So
cost.
we would be the majority up to, or even,
Outside of the CMAQ.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the cost share, best case is 50-50. It might be, they may share, they may put in a little bit less than 50%. They're gonna look and see, well, where's their right of way and how
Right.
much of an impact does this have on their infrastructure? The one thing that we also talked about is looking at it and kind of doubling up and looking at the air quality grant request and using that MoDOT cost share as kind of some of our matching funds. So we can kind of double up on these so that if we have a 50-50, we can go through the CMAQ, we can use, they would pay for up to maybe 20% of our share. And so again, we've talked about this in the past of trying to figure out how do we use the various grants that are out there to really best leverage. It's one of the goals the council has is best leveraging grants that are available. When talking with the MoDOT engineer, and we were talking about the two intersections. We said, could we put these as one project? And he said, let me look at it. Let me talk to the people here. And he came back and said, yeah, that was favorable. So that was also good. Now, what's before you is really just authorization to apply for these. Because what will happen is, there's a funny structure with both of these grants in that when you have to, request from the MoDOT regional engineer a letter of support for the project before it can even go to the next step of the grant application. And so we've done that. We've sent this in, and in fact, yesterday afternoon, we got a response back on some of the suggested changes that that they are suggesting for the application that you saw in your packet. Because the time frame for when you get that, when we weren't sure when we get that, the okay from the regional engineer, how many more changes we would need to make. We thought it best just to come back to the council and say, can you give us authorization to just apply for these? And as you know, with MoDOT grants, once we get notification of the grant, it will have to come back to you as an ordinance because they have a maintenance agreement. And so that's really what we're here today, is to make you aware that we're moving forward on this. We'd like to move forward. It's an expensive project. 1.8.
And also just to add in there, because of our regard for the safety issue at North Price across from CVS, we have an unbalanced project where we have a significant right-of-way acquisition to make that a really safe and functional to our modern design. It's a functionally obsolete intersection. You would never have a building that close to a roadway with no pedestrian facility, no barrier protection. It's just a relic. And so these were some of the points that we have to figure out how we're going to score our project. And when you look at such an imbalance with the right-of-way costs causing, the property acquisition costs causing as much as the project or more, that's when it came in, when we talked to our area engineer. So, well, what else do you have? And fortunately, we had just done our Northeast Quadrant traffic study, which was packed with all the information we needed to show MoDOT, these are some of the things that we have in our cookbook that we're interested in. So it really worked out well that we had that. And it also in the archives at Public Works, we found a design for North Price at that very intersection from 2005 that included the very design we wanted to do. And MoDOT had cut that out of the project because of right-of-way acquisition and just additional complications. So it does merit well in the MoDOT plan. There's a history there of their interest in the project. What we don't really know is what are we competing against? Okay, so how do we rank? How is our scoring? We can calculate our score, but we don't know how that's going to go up against any of the other applications. And one of the big risks with all of these things, you make these applications, there's a commitment. And the risk falls on us in the city, just like any other federal project. You get X dollars and that's it, right? And you have to meet the timeline. So this is no different. It's a very unique circumstance that we are able to leverage MoDOT funds on one of our grant applications because we typically don't do anything with the cost share on a state highway like this. And normally a Dealman Industrial wouldn't qualify for any grants because it's a local industrial road. It's not in the collector, so it wouldn't normally qualify. So this is a great opportunity for us. Very complicated. A lot of pieces to move through. And one of the things they've learned since 2020 is right away, which was once very difficult, is now incredibly very difficult to get anything done. Even though we only would have three locations for negotiation, it is still a long and arduous process to get that done.
Are there any questions at this
Have
point?
we talked you out of it yet?
Yeah.
No, it's a necessary, it's a necessary move on the city's part. The we have a number of employers, businesses in that industrial park and Dealman Industrial as well as North Price that, you know, struggle with their trucks getting in that road. And, you know, we have gone back and forth about how we could do this project without that right of way, you know, without the taking of that building on the northwest corner. But we wouldn't really improve that intersection. And so, so I think that, you know, it's going to be painful in the short run, kind of jumping through all the hoops. This is a project we're looking to use some of the ARPA money on. And so that's going to be, you know, it's one of the reasons we can do it. Because really, if we didn't have that, I don't think we'd be able to take it on. We would be doing a lesser project. We have talked with the property owner who understands the need. And so this has all been kind of discussed. So we're not, you know, kind of working forward, kind of, you know, with an understanding of this being kind of the end goal.
Well, yeah, and I'll ask if there's any questions. We'll start.
Is that property owner the water, the hydro flow business?
It's Greg Howitt's.
Greg Ellis. I was one of the two. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, we have discussed this also in work session, so it's not our first time to get this information. Yeah, so I'm looking for a motion.
Oh, we don't need, oh, I'm sorry, apologize. My bad. My bad.
Chairman Pro Tem, I motion to authorize the application for MoDOT cost share and congestion mitigation and air quality improvement CMAQ funding in conjunction with 2 intersection improvements at Olive Boulevard, North Price, and Dillman Industrial.
Second. I have a first and second. Will you please follow the roll? Will you please hold the council?
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes.
Chairman Carl,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay.
And if I could just take one more moment, since we're talking grant applications, in our capital plan, we had also rather optimistically looked at making an application for North Price Road between Delmar and Olive Boulevard this year. That would qualify for an STPS grant, similar to what we did on Old Bonham and both segments of Dealman Road. We are going to defer that a year. Our concern is we're not sure what the outcome is going to be, and the CMAQ, it's a lack of capacity at 1200 North Price to really do all of these projects at the same time. So we're going to structure this to defer 1 year. And additionally, having looked at some of the other applications for the SDP program, I'm not sure we would rate well yet for the grant for award.
Just FYI, 1200 North Price, for those who don't know, is the Public Works Building. If anyone didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. So we still need to vote, right? No, we voted. Yeah, that was just nothing. Okay, next item.
Next item is vehicle surplus declaration.
This you bought?
There.
Or, oh, there.
Mr. Mann.
Good evening once again, Pro Tem and Council. We have as part of our normal fleet kind of rotation and operation as vehicles come in and then they rotate out. We sell them off at auction generally. And so tonight we have a request to declare surplus a 2013 Ford Explorer that has been loved very well. Has just north of 80,000 miles on it and has been through 3 departments within the city. So very loved by a lot of people. I don't have any other questions. It's a 2015, not a 13. I'm more than happy to answer any questions on on this particular vehicle or our fleet process, but that's more of a housekeeping thing.
So when we sell it by auction, where does the money go? To general fund? Where
We
does
put
it
that
go?
in the general fund. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
And it ends up in our miscellaneous income.
Okay.
Income account.
And I would like to repeat that for the department heads that are sitting here. That money goes into general operating revenue, does not go back to the department. Because some people would like to use that money to upfit their new vehicles, and that's not what we do though, is it? No. So, Mr. McGregor is known for his,
The art of negotiations. Chairman Pro Tem, I recommend action that we approve asset number 01426, a 2015 Ford Explorer with VIN number ending in 0635, listed as surplus and to be disposed by auction.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
And next item. please.
Next item is surplus equipment declaration.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Beverly Tucker Knight, Parks and Recreation Director. And this evening, we are bringing with you our third request of declaring surplus some very well used and beloved, but now end of its lifetime supplies for the Olivet Community Center. So ahead of demolition, we request the disposal for a selection of items. I can't guarantee this is not the last time that we'll request.
I'd like to point out that in a review of the fees that we charge, historical fees for parks and recreation, that kegerator used to get $50 a day. rental.
It is a historic and folkloric relic from Summerfest. It's an old chiller for beer kegs that probably provides a lot more shelter for mice right now than it actually serves beer.
You read my mind. I was gonna ask
However,
about that.
We do think that it will probably have some competitive bidding on the Gov Deals side.
So when you say the word dispose of, you're meaning that they're gonna go to auction as well?
Some will, some won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, some have no material value and we won't even try and auction them, but the kegerator is definitely going up.
Okay. Any more questions about the item list? If not,
I'd like to make a motion to declare itemized equipment surplus and authorize disposal.
second,
Second.
please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem.
Yes,
Motion passed.
all righty.
Thank you very
Kakenator
much.
is out of here. All right.
Would you like a heads up when it goes live on the site?
Yeah.
Okay. Gov Deals.
Okay. Next item, please.
The next item is document destruction.
Disposal today.
Hi, good evening, once again. We have now some clean housekeeping items with our cleaning out some of our old records now that our audit is complete. So we have fiscal year 13 and 14 and 14 and 15 accounts payable records and cash receipt records. In addition to some of the gross receipt or utility tax payments that we have there. The classifications here, by the way, are we only required to keep them for an audit plus a year, which I'm not a big paper keeper, but I really want my stuff a little longer than that. These are we keep about 7 years worth of stuff here. And this actually is a little momentous. This is the first year that we're rotating stuff with stuff inside of this building. Before it all went to 1200 North Price into the deep dark cage. And hard to retrieve stuff from there, but it went to be forgotten. Well, now we have a system where they can't be forgotten because the accountants and the drawers in our offices fill up and they have to be moved. So it keeps us on our toes. We do, yeah. Yeah, the city attorney has some really good records to go through over there if he ever gets his billable hours. I'm not sure is worth Bruce's griping, but it's yes. No, it's nope. So this is what we have here for some of our housekeeping. We won't talk about anything. You notice that Bruce never comes up here, tries to throw any of his stuff away from up there. We throw stuff away and here he comes, more stuff filled up.
Oh, I thought you just dumped on them.
We do that too. So anyway, we have a request today under these classifications and that's it. And we'll revisit next year.
All right, if we need no more explanation, I'll look for a motion.
Thank you. Approve secure destruction of documents as classified and described in memo dated 1/4/23.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Walden.
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right.
Thank you.
So are these things? Are these things electronically stored too? And let me just reflect, this was the first year Ms. Sontag was here, and I think your presence at the end, but are these electronically saved already and you're just getting rid of paper stuff?
No, these are paper. This is it. So what do we have that replaces this stuff? We have the record electronically, in the accounting system. It's all kind of downloaded from there. What is not included here, and gets into some more of the record retention itself. We wouldn't want anything that was a capital related item in there. So that's not included in that, or there's a duplicate of it that goes with all these vehicles that we just threw away. And so Secretary of State has a great website if you ever want to read how these things are classified and what you should do. So we rarely need anything. And that's the other thing I'll point out. Oh man, the number of times I went back more than a year in the 8 or 9 years I've been here is 5. So it's a lot of space and storage for very little need. So we will going forward though from 2018, these are all electronic and we'll
All right.
live forever.
Okay. Next item, please.
Next item is hearing from citizens, part 2.
Okay. Is anyone that wishes to speak at this time? Sure. If you come up and then fill out a card for me. An address. I know the drill by now.
Yep, Kate Hellman, 800 North Price. I have just a couple requests. One is if it's possible to get the full text of Amendment 3 with all of the different details, the one that was just passed, with all the different details about the requirements for the sales tax, the requirements for potentially putting on the ballot a request to ban. I'm not getting the language right, but I think, Paul, you probably know what I'm talking about. I know there's a lot of very specific language in that amendment, and I have found it very hard to actually find it online.
Yeah,
I've Googled. Please,
I'll email it to
yeah,
you right now.
that would be great. Just so that there's an easy way to find it and access that information. Because I found it a bit of a struggle, and I've been able to find a lot of other information fairly easily. And then a question, which I don't know if you can answer it now, and I actually don't need it fully answered now, but it's a question that I have about law enforcement related to the smoking ordinance, but not totally related to the smoking ordinance, around what happens when a person is high in public and how that's dealt with. If it's dealt with in a similar fashion, like public intoxication. Just a general question about how that's dealt with. And then a clarification question that the building that would be bought, sorry, I'm all over the map on my comments tonight, that would be bought or acquired for the North Price and Olive intersection improvements, is that the one that's currently the CBD Tom store? Okay. Right behind it. Okay. Okay. And then the last one is a recommendation to Beverly for any of the items that you think are not worthy of going up for auction. You maybe already know about Buy Nothing, all of it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, next item, please.
The next item is, it has a title, it doesn't have anything to go with it, review and approval of minutes, but I apologize, I do not have them for you this evening.
Okay, then we'll move on to the next item.
The next item is the city attorney's report.
No report, no need for a closed session.
Well, that is outstanding news.
I do have,
Anybody has any questions? I'm happy to address.
Good way to start the year.
and I do have one.
Sure.
One update that I came up today. They are gonna start the water main project, Oliver and Chantal. Bruce McGregor was part of a meeting today, I believe, with the contractors involved. So that's a Missouri American Water project that will be beginning.
Okay.
If I could, you just reminded me of something, and I've got Beverly Tucker right here right now. At the end of Grandview, you know where the trail takes you up to the community center. There is a sewer outlet down at the bottom there. It is just covered with leaves and everything. When that water project is done, is that sewer itself going to be modified as well? Okay. 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 Okay.
The water project does continue with the terminal end
Uh-huh.
and does continue
Uh-huh.
along.
Yeah.
Path, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Corrick, may he rest in peace. He fought for whatever's gonna happen there for many years. If we could clean up the leaves and stuff that are around that MSD inlet that's at the end of Grandview and the beginning of the pathway. Appreciate it.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we are adjourned.